Welcome back to Weekend Express. It's now 9 o'clock local time. We'd like to look at what we have on the dailies this morning and quickly whiz through what you should expect from your newspaper. And as usual, we're going to start off with the Standard. And in case you're watching this from abroad, or maybe you don't want to get yourself a copy that is a physical one, remember you can get it online. And that's on www.standardnewspaper.co.ke/e-paper. And you could read through. But this is what we have on the headlines. And on the Standard, we have KCSE marking puzzle. And this, again, is to do with the release of the KCSE examinations, which came a little bit earlier than usual. But, of course, the issue surrounding the mass failure that is there, with about 57.7% of those who sat for the examinations not qualifying for university. And compared to last year, it's a significant drop. And of course, there are questions arising as to why. What might be the cause of the sudden change? Is it because the exams were not standardized? There are quite a number of questions. According to the Secretary General of NAT, Wilson Session, he has given recommendations that what needs to be done is for the examinations to be recalled for an audit. So that's basically the grounds of having this particular headline, KCSE marking puzzle, or was it fatigued examiners? You know, they were also trying to beat a deadline to have the examination results come out pretty early, and this could have been one of the causes. There was also the question of whether the questions may have been too difficult, or was it incompetence on the part of the learner. So all these questions arising from this particular examination, the standardization coming into focus, and generally speaking, it was mass failure. So the questions being raised, and this would be an interesting read for you, especially when you're interested in matters education, more so if you had a student who sat for the examination or who is about to sit for the examination. Because the other thing that comes into focus is the question of the quality of education that we have in our public schools. Remember, it was Jubilee's promise that they would have free secondary and primary education beginning January. So the question of quality education also comes into play here, because then if there is that percentage who have not fully understood their examinations, then the questions, of course, will arise to that. So that's what we have on the headlines. Also, the front page of the Standard, we have Alliance, Limuru girls hit in mass transfers. Again, matters to do with education. So a lot to do with education this morning on your Standard newspaper. Tight marking deadlines, difficult questions may have led to poor grades. So get yourself a copy and find out what are some of the challenges that possibly the learner went through, and maybe why we have that mass failure as per the results. Again, there's also the question of whether we put too much emphasis on a particular examination, one examination, and many students sometimes feel disadvantaged by virtue of the fact that they may have done well over the term but failed this particular one for different reasons. So there you go. Kenyans baffled by mighty fall of renowned academic giants. So there's a lot. There's quite a lot to do with education right here in your Standard newspaper. Then there is also a rundown of basically 2017 and in review, defining moments and events of the year. So maybe just drawing the curtains of memory, where we have come from and how 2017 has been. And some of those, you've got the likes of January. Who would forget when Donald Trump was sworn in as president of the United States, which was a shocker for many. I mean, it's still a shocker for some, and still difficult to believe that he is president. But there you go. There are some who didn't imagine that happening. So quite a number of historic moments defined in your Standard this morning. Just to mention a few, there's that in January of Donald Trump. Another defining moment for this country, for Africa, and world over was November 20th, when the Supreme Court, or rather November when the Supreme Court nullified the elections of the presidential election of Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, but then again upheld them later. So quite a number of events right there that just basically show you what 2017 has been like. All right, and that's what we have have for you on the dailies, or rather on the standard. But remember, you also have your copy of Eve magazine, which comes on as Saturday, and Single Girls Guide to Surviving Christmas. So hey, single girls, there is a guide as to how you will survive Christmas. Interesting. Okay, that I think I'll not read. I'll leave you to get that particular one. So 3 P's for a happy life this holiday season. Okay, 3 P's for a happier. I'm leaving out one word in that sentence. So I want you to get yourself a copy of the standard and find out what that word is for a happier life this holiday season. That's what we have for you in the standard. Let's look at the Saturday Nation, where the headlines again is to do with matters education. Teachers, our pain in marking KCSE. So that could be another bone of contention, and the fact that the teachers were fatigued and had to sit through a very difficult time of marking those examinations. So protests by teachers and their unions point to serious anomalies during the marking of national exams. Questions abound over whether the papers were subjected to rigorous review and audit after they were marked. So again, the question arising as to whether this marking was done according to the standards and according to what was expected. So that's what's forming the headline there. You've also got over 550 school heads moved in major shakeup. Again, read through what the government might be doing right now as they shake up the schools, possibly to try and get to the root of the problem. Mass failure having been one of the things that came out of this particular KCSE results that were released not too long ago. So there you go, how institutions are affected. You've got national schools, extra county schools, you've got girls' schools, vacant national schools, and it's given you the numbers and the breakdown. Still on the front page of the Nation, you've got a long queue there, and this is holiday makers, local and international tourists are basically making use and good use of the standard gauge railway, and the train services, of course, now having booming business. As you can see, the queues there are long, and this is due to the fact that many are preferring to use the train to the coastal region and back, and this is also to do with safety issues. We do know that our roads have become quite dangerous, and some prefer to use the train, and that's something that we're going to be talking about here. Question is, if you had a problem on the road, for instance, if you had an accident and you needed emergency services, what would you do? Where do you seek help? What happens? Or do you rely on passers-by and the goodwill of those who are around you? So those are some of the questions we're going to be raising, and possibly what are the mitigating ways that can be found to ensure that we have safer roads, because accidents are exactly that. You cannot plan for them, but you certainly can plan for, if it happens, what is the immediate course of action that you would take. And not many of us actually have any idea whether you'd have an ambulance number on your phone or whether you can access any quick emergency services. So we're going to be talking about that not too long from now, right here on Weekend Express. So your safety checklist this Christmas is also on page 2 of the Daily Nation, and it's one of those things that you need to read, and especially because some of these things you don't quite think about them until it's too late, until you need them. So your safety checklist this Christmas. Remember, Christmas is now only, 2 days away? So you need to ensure that you have everything ready for you. So in the Nation, you have that. Looking through, you've also got holiday celebrations galore as Kenyans usher in the long Christmas weekend. Kenyans ready to spread the Christmas cheer. And there's a pictorial there in the Nation, which is also showing what some of the leaders have been up to, ensuring that they are spreading the love and the cheer to those who may be less fortunate, and possibly those who may not be looking forward to a great Christmas, maybe because of lack or possibly because of being in situations that would have them not enjoy Christmas. But there you go. So you've also got a pull-out magazine, Seed of Gold, and this is to do more with agriculture in your nation. Then finally, the Saturday magazine. It is time for men to pop, or rather, the question is being asked. Oh, this would be an interesting one. Is it time for men to pop the pill? We find out whether Kenyan men, or rather a Kenyan man, is ready to take the birth control pill. Would you take the birth control pill as a man? Well, you can answer that question. Do let me know. And the other question would be, ladies, would you trust a man to pop the pill and basically leave it to him? So you've got it in your Saturday magazine of the newspaper. What does freedom mean to you is also another interesting topic that you have in the nation. It's really important to look around us and treasure everything we have, because out there are people who had their freedom taken away. Find out what that is all about. That's basically what is in the dailies today. There is much, much more. And do get yourself a copy and get a good read. Find the weekend newspapers. Normally very nice and good way to catch up with what's happening around. So that's what we have for you on the dailies this morning. So